So there are some of the things on that side. Have a sense of perspective. What do I mean by this? What I mean by this is that there's no such thing in life as a stressful event. Everything in life is inherently neutral. It's the way we look at it that either makes it stressful or not. And I'll give you an example. I'm in New York a lot, and when I go to New York, I stay at a place called the Hotel Pierre, which is a nice hotel. It's right on Central Park, and it's convenient for me, and I stayed there long enough to where some of the people at the front desk would at least recognize me. And so a few years ago, I went to check in, and I walked up to the front desk. I said, "Hi, Jack, how are you doing?" Jack said, "Hi, Mr. Piscatella, welcome back." I said, "Nice to be here." He said, "Boy, it's a good thing you didn't check in last night." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "All hell broke loose here last night." I said, "Jack, this is a very sedate hotel." I said, "Jack, tell me what went on." He said, "Do you remember Mrs. Smith?" Now, that's a fictitious name, but she's a real person. She's an elderly woman. She's a widow. She's extremely wealthy, and she lives full-time in one of 2 penthouse suites atop the Hotel Pierre in downtown Manhattan. She spends a ton of dough with the hotel. They take very, very good care of Mrs. Smith. She came down to the front desk at 1 o'clock in the morning. She was stressed. Her eyes were bulging. Her temples were pounding. She slammed her fist into the desk. She said, "Someone in the adjoining suite is playing the piano. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I cannot stand the noise." Well, they immediately jumped to, because this was Mrs. Smith, only to learn that the occupant of the adjoining suite was Van Cliburn, the famous concert pianist. He had played at Carnegie Hall that night. He had had a wonderful concert, but he had made an error in a passage that the audience didn't know. But Cliburn knew he had made a mistake, and Cliburn was a perfectionist. So when the concert was over, dinner was over, socializing was over, he went back to his suite, sat down at the piano, and was replaying the entire 3-hour concert. Mrs. Smith was so happy to hear that, she went running upstairs, pulled a chair next to the wall, and listened to Cliburn for the next 2 hours. Did the event change? No, the event didn't change. What changed? Her perspective. What was noise at 1 a.m. was beautiful music at 1:05. We all have the ability to do that. Goals and values. We all have goals and values that are important to us, and if we're living in concert with them, then it helps us to manage our stress. But if they're out of whack, it creates stress. And there's a simple and easy way to figure out where you are with that. There's a simple test that we can take together. It's called the epitaph test. If you were to die today, based on the way you're living today, what goes on the stone? I did this in a seminar. I had a male voice in the back of the room say, "This isn't going so well." I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Well, if I died today, we'd have to put 'Here lies the best widget salesman in the 11 Western states.'" And I said, "What's the problem with that?" He said, "Well, I never get to see my family, because I'm traveling around all the time selling these widgets." It was a considerable source of stress. I saw him a year later. "How are you doing?" I asked. He said, "I'm the best widget salesman in 4 Western states." He said, "I've cut down my territory. I'm now coaching my children's baseball teams. I'm home enough to be a full partner to my wife." He said, "If I died today, husband and father go on the stone." And the result was he was living with less stress in his life, or he was managing his stress better. And finally, positive mind. This is where it all starts. Is we've got to get ourselves, we've got to get employees, we've got to get our families to have a positive mindset about wellness and prevention that actually causes them to do it. And here's what I suggest to people is, first is, get a realistic time frame. I mean, I can tell you this, I am only concerned about today. I don't care about yesterday. If I screwed up, I took a bath in chocolate chips, it's over, it's done. I can't call it back, I don't even want to call it back. I'm not going to be anxious about tomorrow because it's not even here yet. I just want to know when I get up this morning, I'm able to say to myself, I know I can be healthy today. I know I can grab 45 minutes for a walk or a jog today. I know I can have soup and a sandwich for lunch today. I know I can do the right things today. I'm unconcerned about anything other than that. Second thing is to do one small thing. If you're taking a walk for 30 minutes, extend it to 35. If you're drinking 2% milk, which is actually high-fat milk, by the way, go down to 1% or go down to skim. Make that small step. I think that permanent habits are evolutionary. They're not revolutionary. Okay? Be resilient and persistent. The failure is not in falling down. Everybody does that. The failure is in not getting back up again. And finally, motivate yourself daily. I find that this to be extremely important. When I get up in the morning, for years I kept a loose leaf notebook. Now I've got it in that little yellow book that's over there. But I used to use this loose leaf notebook, and I would have quotes and anecdotes and stories, and I'd read one first thing in the morning to get my mind centered on the fact that I wanted to be healthy that day. So in the book this morning, when I got up, I was at the hotel, I thumbed to the right page. That was what I found. There are no gold medals for the 95-yard dash. You got to go all the way, okay? It's got to be complete. So that's it. So when you look at prevention and wellness, which is going to be the next step that we take in all of this healthcare and insurance business, and it's well overdue. There will be a tendency to just zero in on diet and exercise and smoking, although we've already started on that one. But what I'm saying is that I think that these other things don't get done unless we take a good hard look at helping people to manage stress in what is turning out to be a very stressful society. I want to give you a couple of resources for those that are interested. First is just my website for anybody that's interested. The second is a Facebook site, but it's not the kind of a Facebook where I tell you what kind of socks I'm wearing. It's a page where I do articles. So if you're interested in, I did one 2 days ago on a new study that showed that the stroke risk in women came down when they ate dark chocolate. It's kind of an interesting thing, and it was also one that I agreed with long before the study results came out. So anybody who wants to do that, you can.